Namaste and a very warm welcome to the Nationalist Madrasi. Today we have a very special guest from Bangalore. Dr. Gautam Desiraju is joined with us and we are going to talk about Operation Sindoor and the following of steps which is going to happen in the international level. What will be the implications from the international tool to the Indian and to the Pakistan side as well. So we are going to discuss in detail about what happened in Operation Sindoor and what is going to be the next follow-up things. Namaste, sir. Thank you so much for joining with us. And it's a pleasure always talking to you. And your knowledge is something which we require and we should take it to the next generation as well. Thank you so much, sir.
Namaste to all the viewers of Nationalist Madrasi, and it's a pleasure to talk with you morning. And the topic of Sindoor is of extreme urgency,
Definitely.
because it is something that has seized the imagination of the whole country, and I feel it is appropriate that we talk about something that people want to hear about, in the same way that our defense minister said that what the people of India want, they will get. I think today, in terms of podcasts, what people want is, serious discussions on Sindoor and the implications of this whole thing.
Definitely, sir. Sir, Operation Sindoor is just a beginning, and you have written an article in Swarajya magazine as well. Give us a glimpse about that Operation Sindoor which has happened, and about your article as well, sir. We will go and discussion on a detailed discussion, sir.
Well, Pakistan has been our irritant, our neighbor, our enemy for the last 70, 80 years. Its creation itself was something that was designed by the UK with tacit support from America as a way of dividing the subcontinent, the classic British policy of divide and rule. Pakistan was basically put in as a client state to serve the geopolitical interests of Britain and America at that time. And starting with the Kashmir dispute and so on, which has then gotten into so many complications in so many ways, it has now become a huge problem for us, and a multi-headed hydra, if you want to call it. And I am sure that this has been a first challenge to Prime Minister Modi ever since he took over office in 2014. Pakistan, as far as India has been concerned, knowing the asymmetry in the two countries, it has preferred to go through the terrorist route because it is something that doesn't cost much money to them. Training these terrorists who were originally brought in, let us say, by America or any other way. Recently, the ministers have said that Pakistan was only doing America's dirty work. So let us not get into the origin of how these terrorists came. And originally, I suppose they were trained to go into Afghanistan and part of the America or USSR war in the early days. And then gradually, Americans did not mind, I say, if some of these terrorists were used in J&K. So the training camps were there. Yesterday I was talking to a friend who lives in Srinagar, and I asked him, are there 23 camps, terror camps in Pakistan? He said, even if you tell me there are 2 lakh terror camps in Pakistan, I will believe it. Because he said every house in Pakistan practically is a terror camp. So the whole idea of using terror as an instrument of state policy has been well established in Pakistan. They keep denying it, and they say that Pakistan has been a victim of terror. Very ironical. And the amazing thing is that because of the strong pro-Pakistani tilt in the Western establishment, notably the UK, but also till very recently the USA and other places, the US deep state, George Soros, let me say that they bitterly hate India, and specifically they may bitterly hate Hindus also. I'll say it.
And the present government as well.
And the present government, who is viewed as the new embodiment or the new representation of the new Bharat, the Hindu Rashtra, Bharatavarsha, the extended domain of Sanatana Dharma. So the fact that we are not an Abrahamic religion, I think further adds to their insecurities, because normally it's human nature that when you don't understand something, you tend to dislike it in the beginning. And after some time, if that new entity starts becoming more powerful, you start fearing it. So I can see all these things happening. And I would say that India got, and I think Prime Minister Modi recognized in the election of Donald Trump, it is the best thing that could have happened to India right now. An American friend recently, a senior professor, joked with me that he said that Trump may not be so good for America, but he's certainly very good for India.
Okay.
So I had to agree with him, because what has happened now, let me tell you, Raghavan, is that India could not have launched the attack on Bahawalpur, Muridke and today Sialkot without seeking some kind of concurrence or at least neutrality from the three other big powers. India is one of four big powers in the world today.
Understood.
Everybody acknowledges USA, China, India, Russia, in that order, are the four big powers of today's modern world. We have a book coming out in October this year, which actually calls these four powers four empires. And the characteristic of any empire is that its jurisdiction, its influence, if not its suzerainty, extends beyond its formal political borders. So India is Bharat, but the extended Indian empire is Bharatvarsha, which goes all the way from, say, Afghanistan to Myanmar. Maybe even Akhand Bharat, maybe even down to Indonesia, Bali, Sri Lanka, the entire Indian Ocean rim. So this is our Bharatvarsha. Going with the old Vishnu Puranam, that it is everything from the oceans to the mountains. So that is Bharatvarsha, and so now slowly we are growing into that particular depiction. Now, but again, coming back to what I was saying, it is impossible that we could have done this without these three countries. Let us take them one by one. Now, as far as America is concerned, it needs India extremely as a counter to China.
Understood.
First. Second, it also needs India economically for mutual trade. Third, it doesn't need Pakistan so much anymore. It is done with it. Whatever use Pakistan had, it has fulfilled that use, and they don't see any further use for it. They don't like this terror thing because it destabilizes their industry.
Exactly.
Suppose the terror fellows come and disrupt certain American plants and all in India, they won't like that. So they don't want those terror camps. So probably what we can only surmise is that and Vance and Trump have both said that they don't stand for terror.
Exactly.
So the terror camps probably were on the hit list of India, and America has actually encouraged them to remove the terror camps. Very significantly, two other things happened just a couple of days before the attack. The first was the phone call from President Putin in Russia, saying that we do not like terror. Again, a clear signal that if you go and hit the terror camps,
we won't say anything.
We won't say anything. That's right. And the other, it's not an empire. It was an empire, but now it's nothing. The UK. The very, very, very troublesome country in terms of the support they give to Pakistan. And here again, it is a political reason, because so many of the Pakistani origin people live in UK and constitute a significant vote bank there. So in the same way that Trudeau was supporting Khalistanis, the UK people will support these Islamic terrorists. It is a straight vote matter. It's an election matter for the UK. So there was a trade deal between India and the UK, pending for 3 years almost. We have not signed that, which is very important for the UK. And just 2 days before the attack, this 3-year pending thing was signed. Now, when you see something like that, you must fill in the blanks, you must join the dots. India would have extracted an extremely heavy price from the UK to sign that trade deal. And that trade deal has also got the British Prime Minister into trouble in Britain, because according to this trade deal, the Indians who work in the UK under these schemes where Indian workers go there do not have to pay so many taxes in the UK. So the people of the UK are saying, who are these guys who are coming here and will not pay taxes even though they work here? So even that concession UK has made. But I think the most important concession that Prime Minister Modi got out of the UK is that they are not to interfere in this India-Pakistan, that they should keep their nose well out of it.
Okay.
And any kind of sympathy or even blind love they have for Pakistan has to be held in suspension or abeyance now.
So since you mentioned UK, I think yesterday after we did Operation Sindoor, Rishi Sunak gave a strong statement supporting it actually. Whether it is the present government which is messing up the issues or...
Subtle point. You see, Sunak, first of all, is vaguely of Indian origin. So there will be a certain biological thing, but let us ignore that. He is also the son-in-law of a very prominent Indian family. So leave all that aside. But what I think Sunak meant was that he is also giving a message to the Labour Party.
Okay.
That you cannot go behind these Muslims so much.
Exactly.
Because the whole world is changing. You see, Raghavan, suppose, and I'm in reference to China, I will say, and also the UK. One of the things I feel that with the present policies of the Modi government, the state of Pakistan itself may not exist 2 to 3 years from now.
Okay.
And if that were to happen, the two countries that would be in the most difficult position would be the UK and China. Because they have supported Pakistan so much that suppose the state of Pakistan itself is 4 countries. Then these 2 countries will be in very serious trouble.
Understood.
And I think Sunak, being the clever politician that he is, realizes the dangers that Muslim appeasement will lead to in UK also. I mean, Trudeau realized that to his cost in Canada. That you cannot keep appeasing the Khalistanis beyond a point. It will hit you again. So, the trade deal in the UK. Finally, China. Now, China is the enigmatic player in this geopolitical game. They said nothing before the attack. They said nothing during the attack. And they have said practically nothing after the attack.
Okay.
So much for all these Pakistanis saying that China will help. Our friendship is higher than the mountains, sweeter than honey. Nothing. You know, honey became castor oil.
Exactly.
What the Pakistanis were dreaming, the Chinese, because China again has a problem. Tomorrow, I give you a hypothetical situation. Suppose Pakistan breaks up or is made to break up due to the actions of the 4 empires. And suppose India has a nice compact with China that you will have access to the Arabian Sea through Gilgit-Baltistan, through all the areas that we control from now on. And we are going to allow you to go there and come. Actually, China doesn't want Pakistan. China wants only the Arabian Sea.
Sir, but since you mentioned China, what about the money which has been pumped into Pakistan? Either the investments or OBOR or anything like BRI, whatever things you take in, China is pumped in money like anything into Pakistan.
CPEC, they say 60 billion. But only about 14 to 15 billion has actually been given. And for a country like China, it is a loss that it can easily write off. 14 to 15 billion for China today is nothing. So what China fears more, you see, its workers and all are being attacked in Pakistan. You know, people are getting blown up and all that. Now suppose you have a very strong India and suppose you have friendly vassals like Baluchistan, Sindhu Desh, Pashtunistan, and POJK and GB naturally come to India. And India says that, okay, Shaksgam Valley, what use is Shaksgam Valley to you now? We will allow you free passage. And then they may not even have to go through West Punjab.
Okay.
They may go through Rajasthan and Gujarat and go to Karachi and Gwadar. So, I mean, so the whole issue...
So it's like a mutual deal.
It's a mutual deal. And in fact, Raghavan, let me tell you, with 4 empires, USA, India, China, Russia, there are no friends and there are no enemies.
Understood.
It is only mutual economic interests.
Understood.
The whole world, 21st century, is going to be governed by economics. The politics will suit itself to suit the economics.
Understood.
That's it. No more and no less.
Understood.
So I think if suppose you reduce everything to money terms, life actually becomes quite easy.
Understood. Sir, since you mentioned the economic terms, I think this is one of the way where India can convince China economically. But you told America wants a replacement of China, that is India, to develop in that region. Will China like that? Because any kind of a situation which is happening now will promote the image of India and will stabilize the image of India in the Asian or South Asian region. But will China like this kind of a stability which is happening for India in this region, sir?
Quite true. What you say is quite. Suppose I put it in a different way. Suppose President Putin tells President Xi, what is your real enmity with India? You have a border dispute, which is based on some line drawn by the same old British. Nobody lives there and nobody can live in those areas. Then what is your enemy? What is your enmity with India? tomorrow do you like to have a powerful America? Because Putin knows that as far as Russia and China are concerned, America is the enemy. Okay. So he says, suppose you have a slightly stronger India. And he's also told him probably, in 10-15 years, you cannot prevent the rise of India. Already you are not able to use the Pakistan card. So once India gets to about 7-8 trillion, you cannot hold that country back anymore. So suppose you go back to the ideas of people like Alexander Dugin and Swami Vivekananda and all these people and talk about the Eurasian landmass. There's a very famous article written by a man called Mackinder in 1906, I think. It is called The Geographical Pivot of History and how geography affects history. And it talks about an idea system, a civilizational state, a way of thinking which is characteristic of Eurasia. The person to read here is a man called Alexander Dugin. And he says that Russia actually is a Eurasian power. It's not a European power anymore. So we have a demarcation of the world into two blocks. One is the Anglo-American sphere, which is USA, UK, Canada, New Zealand, Australia, those places. The other thing is the entire Eurasian landmass, which is China, India, Russia. So again, these two blocks may not be inimical to each other, but they will be two halves of the world. Let us say that I think 400-500 years ago, the Pope of Rome, he divided the whole world between Spain and Portugal because these two countries were exploring the oceans and colonizing things in South America and all that. So he divided the whole world into Spanish sphere of influence and Portuguese sphere of influence. And he said, you develop and you colonize or do anything in your respective halves, you don't fight with each other. So I see the relationship of an Anglo-American sphere and a Eurasian sphere, something like this, not necessarily inimical. Suppose I'm now talking about 20-30 years from now. India, China, Russia have everything to gain by being together. And then you will have all these small buffer countries and all that, but all will be vassals and all will be basically friendly. In such an atmosphere, any relics of the former nation-state model, notably the country which we call Pakistan now, simply doesn't fit. It is required by nobody today.
Understood.
And nobody wants it even. So I think the way in which Prime Minister Modi is planning this whole action out, he has put Pakistan in such a difficult position today.
Understood.
That suppose they don't attack us, they listen to Trump and they don't attack us, then Asim Munir and others will face lot of resentment from the Pakistani public.
Okay.
They will tell him, you said so many things. You said Ghazwa-e-Hind. You said you will put our flag on Lal Killa. You gave us all these tall tales and promises. What have you done? You have not redeemed our honor and we are feeling insulted, so we want to kick you out. So that is one thing. Suppose he attacks, a regular conventional attack, then India will react with overwhelming force. And then Trump knows that Trump doesn't want to prevent India, then he knows he cannot prevent it. Because then we can only tell him, we did what you told us to do and see this is what has happened. So we cannot have them throwing an atom bomb now on our country. We are going to pulverize the country.
Okay.
Then nobody can say anything. Even China cannot say anything. So you see, Modi has put himself in such a good position that no matter what Pakistan does, it is in trouble today.
Okay.
And so I think that's why I've written in my article in Swarajya yesterday that the game has been played like a game of chess. So that whichever way the opponent moves, you can catch him. I think this is my present reading of the situation, but I think a great deal. The other thing I will say, Raghavan, is I think the Indian government knew for the last 6 to 8 months that something like this would happen. They knew that Pahalgam kind of thing. Because I think they understand the Pakistani psyche very well. They know they are very hot-headed people and they know that they are religiously of a fanatical bent of mind. And they know that they hate India. So when you are like this, even Gita tells you that if you let your emotions cloud your reason, then you will only be destroyed in the end. And I think we are seeing it happening in front of our eyes. One of the last sentences I wrote in the Swarajya article is, we are seeing history taking a corner here. We are literally watching it in front of our eyes.
Exactly.
So I feel it's a wonderful time period when we are even discussing things like this, so that intelligent people in Bharat can begin to appreciate the larger picture and notice that now I believe that already we are in a state of war. War is a very relative term.
Understood.
War and peace.
Mm-mm.
So the war is being fought. It's water wars with the Indus. It is a psychological warfare. It is what is called cognitive warfare using social media, misinformation. Both sides are doing all these things. But the asymmetry between India and Pakistan is very big. So we are actually comparing ourselves with America, Russia, China. We are not comparing ourselves with Pakistan.
Not
In fact, no. Some of the Pakistani people are saying, "Oh, this is a fight between India and Pakistan." No. See, where is India and where is Pakistan?
Exactly.
It is nothing.
Exactly.
So I think firstly we should, as Indians, continue to spread our own information, positive information, that we are becoming a very big country. Whether the West likes it or not, it cannot prevent us beyond a point. And I think the politicians in America also realize that in the long run, India cannot be blocked. You can delay India's progress by using this Pakistan and other things, but it's, I think, rapidly reaching the end even for them.
Understood. Sir, on May 7th, there was an announcement of a mock drill actually.
Correct.
So we were prepared for that, like, okay, that there would be something in and around our surroundings, because we haven't experienced this kind of a scenario, because earlier it was a lockdown scenario which we have experienced during COVID, but we haven't experienced a mock drill actually. So before the mock drill, the terrorist camps have been hit in POJK and Pakistan as well. I'll read out the names, especially Mordi Cave, Bawalpur. So Bawalpur is very close to Lahore, it seems, and some of the places are very, very close to Islamabad as well, like Sensa, Kotli, Dungi, Mehmuna Joya, and Batrasi, Ogi. So these are the places have been very closer to the Islamabad and mainland of all these cities, like Rawalpindi or Lahore, something like that. So what was the actual plan? Because I think before this, each and every counterpart have been talking with the respective countries as well. Rajnath Singh have been communicating with the respective defense ministries of various countries. Yes, Jaishankar has been speaking, at least in a day he would have been speaking to 4 to 5 countries of all the mainland in the world. And Ajit Doval has been taking a series of meetings, even in 7 local landmarks, that is the Prime Minister residence, like all the Chief of Defense Staff, all 3 chiefs of Army, Navy and Air Force have been there. Like there has been a series of meetings in the past, let's say at least 2 weeks. So what was the actual planning, and how did this take place before even the mock drill, sir?
There are 2 distinct points which you have raised. First, the proximity of all these terror sites to the international border or the line of control. A singular disadvantage, I talked about Mackinder and geography. A singular disadvantage of Pakistan is that it is a country that has only latitude and no longitude. It is a thin country.
Exactly.
Thin countries have many disadvantages because communication is only along one line. Second, the climatic variations are too many. Strong countries, stable countries have a spread of longitude and not so much of latitude. Because if you have spread of longitude, your climate also is similar in large parts of the country. Very big and powerful countries like Russia, China, India, America have both latitude and longitude.
Exactly.
So we have the best of all worlds. Now Pakistan is very thin, and one of the constant fears that the Pakistani establishment has had is that they are so thin. Which means very easily you can have, suppose you have 2 enemies on both sides.
It's very easy to crush.
It is very, very easy to crush. And this brings me to this topic called Afghanistan. So you have India on one side and Afghanistan on one side. And the Afghanistan is the home of the Pashtun people, who are ethnically little bit different. We'll take your second point a little later of the other countries. I'll take up Afghanistan first, because I think it is very germane to this issue.
Understood.
It is the home of the Pashtun people. A number of Pashtuns live in what is today Pakistan, mostly in the province of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, but also in Punjab, and let me say also in Sindh, also in Baluchistan. Okay, they don't recognize what is called the Durand line, which was an artificial line drawn by the British to separate British India from Afghanistan. They have never recognized this line. And they say that we want a thing called Greater Pashtunistan, which is the home of the Pashtun. Now, Afghanistan if you look at relations between India and Afghanistan in various regimes, including the Taliban, it has always been friendly. We have never had an enemy because there is one common thing between Bharat and Afghanistan. We don't seek territory outside what we feel is our natural organic. Bharatvarsha for 5,000 years has never wanted to do conquest outside what it called as Bharatvarsha. Similarly, Afghans only want areas which they feel are inhabited by Pashtuns. They don't want other areas. Of course, this area is now quite big. It comes almost up to Islamabad.
Okay.
But don't forget that maybe with partly Indian support and help, India has been supporting Afghanistan quite a lot.
No, even on the Pahalgam attack, Taliban has condemned what they have done.
Let me tell you more. What we are calling as the river wars with Sindhu, Afghanistan has already been doing. There is a river which is flowing through Afghanistan, which is called this near Kabul, Abul River. And it has got 3 tributaries. And let me get the names correctly. One is called Kurram and one is called Kunar. And the third, the main river is Kabul itself. So Kabul is the main river. And Kurram and Kunar are the tributaries. And this whole thing till recently was just flowing, going into Sindhu and the water being used by Pakistan. Now recently, Afghans have been putting dams on these rivers. So what we are doing with Chenab and Ravi and all that, they are also doing. So which means that they are also aware of the use of water as a weapon. And surely India is encouraging Afghanistan in doing all these things. There is no doubt about it. And I feel also that some time ago, we should have recognized Afghanistan diplomatically.
Okay.
I think this not recognizing them, because if you recognize a country diplomatically, you can conduct lawful trade with them. If you don't recognize a country diplomatically, anything that you want to send them has to go through some third party.
Exactly.
Which is quite costly and also quite a nuisance.
Can't be trusted as well.
Third point, you have to trust that middleman.
Okay.
But we have enough middlemen in the world today. You know, like Singapore or Switzerland or, Dubai or India. We have enough middlemen who are doing this for a living. Dalals. So dalal countries are there. You can do it, but it would make life so much simpler because Afghanistan and India are united in the fact that they have a common enemy. The Pashtuns hate the Punjabis because they feel that they treated them very badly post Osama bin Laden and 9/11 and all that. When the Taliban had to rush here and there and they had to run to Pakistan, they were treated very badly at that time by the Pakistani army. So there is no love lost between Pashtuns and Punjabis. So I think that this Afghanistan thing, India is actually playing its cards, as I said, very well, because we are now squeezing Pakistan from all sides. Baluchistan, Pashtunistan, Chitral, Gilgit, Baltistan, POJK, Sindhu Desh, the ocean. So there is nothing left. Whole Pakistan is
going to be divided.
Encircled.
Okay.
And if you read the famous war strategist Sun Tzu, Sun Tzu says, if you are 10 times stronger than the enemy, you surround him. If you are 5 times stronger than the enemy, you attack him. And this clearly tells me that India is 10 times stronger than Pakistan today. Because we are not attacking them, we are just surrounding them. That's enough. Because if you surround them, then you will just choke them off. So that then there is nothing left and then they will die on their own. I think this seems to be the strategy, which is where, this is how I see Operation Sindoor. And that's why I said it is only the beginning.
Okay.
It is only the beginning. Please wait. And the General Naravane has said, main picture aa raha hai. Ye trailer hai. This is even before the trailer, some advertisements come, no? Smoke this cigarette or drink this Fanta or do something. This is all like those advertisements before the trailer even. This is not even the trailer.
Understood. Sir, since you told about this trailer and other things, so I think there are around 21 to 23 terror camps on the target. And so as the time we speak, even Sialkot has been striked. So what are you thinking? Like, can we end terrorism in this region?
2 parts. Yesterday we were having, every Indian household, we are discussing this over TV and other things. So last night over dinner, I was telling my son, I said there will be another attack tonight. Because I knew that 9 is not enough. They have to hit all 23. And now you tell me that now Sialkot has been hit. Now, hitting the terrorist camp is okay. But if you listen to my Kashmiri friend who said that every house in Pakistan is a terror camp, could be an exaggeration, but if you say that, the source of the power are not the terror camps, it is the Pakistan army. So at some point in time, that would be the escalation. We would have to hit the power center itself. See, Pakistan has got 3 distinct entities. The first is the Pakistan state, that is the civilian government. The Prime Minister and all this Imran Khan, Shahbaz Sharif, that whole gang, that parliament. So they represent the governmental part, and it is the sovereign state of Pakistan. But in Pakistan, that has no power. The power in Pakistan lies only with the army, which controls the whole country economically. So the well-known saying is that all countries have an army, but only in Pakistan the army has a country. So literally they own all the land, they own all the businesses, they control every aspect of life. The third entity are these terror camps, which both the army and the state use to further ISI, they further their interests using this low-cost alternative, because Pakistan has no money. So it has to do, you pay somebody 500 rupees, he'll throw stones. You pay him 1,000 rupees, he will go and kill somebody. If you pay him 2,000 rupees, he'll go and throw a bomb somewhere. So it's very cheap. And so they're using this. So finishing the terror camps, yes, we can finish all 23 of them. But another 23 will come up somewhere. That Raktabij, all the drops fall somewhere, and some new things start coming. So I don't think you can stop that. I think at some point in time, India government will have to realize that it has to hit the Pakistan army. And I think somewhere, if it escalates, the place to hit then is Rawalpindi.
Sir, I'll have a small doubt as well as I'll put a question over here. And so at the beginning of the interview, you told that Pakistan says that they are the victim of terrorism as well. And now the reaction comes from the government or from the army side. So whatever the statements which has come once the Operation Sindoor is on, has been coming from both the government as well as the army side, that you should have not done this is an act of war, something like that. And they are also trying to do something in the LOC as well. So are they, as you said, are they directly coming out in support of those terror camps and the destroyed terror camps, or in the support of those terrorism? And what will be the future if they try to escalate this issue, sir?
See, yesterday there was a funeral of some of those terrorists.
Exactly.
And the terrorist leaders were also praying over there. And this was also conducted by the military. So now they are not even trying to hide that the army and the government and the terrorists are all in the same group. They are not even trying to hide it anymore, like they did for Balakot. And if they have come to this kind of a situation, I can say that it probably reflects a great deal of desperation and panic, because they never panicked after Balakot. After Balakot, they simply said it didn't even happen. And then Abhinandan plane was captured, and they kept on talking about cup of tea. And they've got so much publicity advantage out of that. So even something like Balakot, and our internal enemies like Kejriwal and Rahul Gandhi, they started asking for evidence. Today, nobody has asked for evidence. Even Kejriwal
videos have been coming from Pakistan itself.
No. So there is no question of asking. So the internal enemy also is subdued. And don't forget that probably one place where Pakistan is better than us is their ability to spread disinformation and misinformation.
Exactly.
They are very sophisticated. And I think probably we have to learn something from them. How to spread these narratives, because our internal elites, the people who live in Lutyens or South Bombay, sophisticated people, still Aman Ki Asha. Today TM Krishna has written that I am a pacifist. Of course, he has been trolled. So it is nice for him to say I am a pacifist, but he is not going and fighting in the war and losing his life. So the internal enemies of India have not stopped.
I think, they are together when it comes to...
They are very much together. And that is why I feel that all nationalists and all people who love their country and are true Bharatiyas, we should put aside small differences and say that we are united in destroying the enemy. The sense of Shatru Bodh is very poorly developed in India. Firstly, Swayambodh itself we don't have. But Swayambodh is more difficult to achieve. First, you must get Shatru Bodh. Shatru Bodh sense is not there. Whereas the left-wing people, yesterday somebody said that I don't like the name Sindoor because it means some
Patriarchy.
Brahminical patriarchy, something. I am nonsense. So, but there are takers for that. Somebody else even said Sindoor has no resonance in South India because South Indian ladies do not put Sindoor.
They were trying for peace negotiation when India started attacking. Many have been telling that India started this, and even A.R. Rahman has put the symbol of peace. In
yeah, but this tells you how effective the Pakistani social media and disinformation is. Why are we not able to do similar thing in Pakistan? We are not able to do it. Although I am sure we are trying. Why does T.M. Krishna say today I am a pacifist? Is there any meaning in that statement? Or is he just being paid money and doing it? I don't know. But whatever it is, this is something that the India government should take up very seriously. Because in times of war, this cannot be tolerated. When if it's an outright war with a thing, then all these people will probably be court-martialed. Because then the army has got then full control over what is happening. I don't think people in India, you mentioned earlier that I am old enough to remember the 1971 war. And I know that within hours, we could hear, I was growing up in Bombay then, the air raid sirens started.
Okay.
Because it was felt that Bombay being the headquarters of Baba Atomic Research Center, BARC, it would be within the firing range of the Pakistani planes, that it was Bombay was going to be a big target. So blackout and all was observed very seriously. I think people in India have never, most people, or say a little bit younger than me, have never seen what a war is like.
Exactly.
It's very different.
Even Kargil, our generation has not even seen Kargil.
You have not seen Kargil. You see, wars are not fought on social media and on television. They should know that.
Exactly.
Our young boys are dying. And I don't think we should start saying we lost so many planes or we lost. War means there will be losses.
Exactly.
There will be losses on both sides. And Indian boys are dying. And the whole country should be together. To say that today I am a pacifist is a traitorous act. I don't care what your political views are, but political views have to keep it down. I must
when
say,
it comes to national interest.
I must say that even here, that the Congress party is behaving well.
Yeah. I think everyone has come and support, sir, because
I think they know how serious it is. And a bit pleased. And I'm also pleased that people like some of our chief ministers of opposition states have not made irresponsible statements. Nobody has made.
I think D.K. Shivakumar has also praised and stands with the government.
Forget, let them not praise. Let them not say anything. Because this is something for the Prime Minister, Defence Minister, NSA Director, for the armed force. It is their show. They have to do it. That is why they are there. It is not for us to give cheap advice on X.
Exactly.
And say, I think this, I think that. We can do that in podcasts. But even here, I am not telling the government what to do. I am saying that this is my analysis as to where India stands with respect to other countries, with respect to Pakistan. And finally, I'll put a poser. Does Pakistan even know what it is and why it is there? I think they don't know. If they feel that it is a homeland for Muslims, they are totally wrong. It was set up there by the British to suit the Britain's geopolitical interests at that time. These fellows were just convenient, that's all. But I think they really have to sit and figure out who they are. And I think as long as they don't know who they are, I think their path to destruction is very obvious.
Understood. So I'll end up with these two last questions. Since you mentioned about Pashtunistan, Sindhu Desh and other things, what happens with Baluchistan? I think I should touch the topic as well, because Baluch, yesterday, the time where we speak, BLA, that is Baluch Liberation Army, has been striking with both the army as well as with the terrorist camps also. So there has been a huge resistance from their end, that is from the Baluchistan end. And even Ajit Doval has mentioned that if you do one more Mumbai, you will lose Baluchistan and something like that.
He said that long ago.
Yeah, I think a decade before. Yes, sir.
He said that long ago. See, Baluchistan is a very special case because they have a sharply defined ethnicity that crosses our traditional boundaries. I have written an article in Organizer magazine about 2 weeks ago saying that We are seeing the birth of a new country with the end of the nation-state paradigm. End of the nation-state paradigm, I have already mentioned, with 4 empires. And when you have big empires, you have small buffer states between the empires. Baluchistan is going to be one such buffer state between Bharatvarsha and West Asia. So every time you have big units, you need small buffers between them. For example, let's go back to older history. Places like Nepal, Tibet, Sikkim, Bhutan, even Thailand, Vietnam, they were all set up by the British Empire to buffer themselves against the Russians and the Chinese and the French. So, if you were to take Afghanistan, it was a buffer against Russia. If you take Nepal and Tibet, it's a buffer against China. If you take what was called in those days French Indochina, Vietnam, Laos and all, it was to buffer themselves against the French. So, big countries always like little countries between their empires. In this context, I would say Balochistan is going to be a friendly, what we call vassal, a friendly vassal state of Bharat, which will insulate us from West Asia. They have features of both. Don't forget that one of our Shakti Peeths, Hinglaj Mata, is located in Balochistan.
Okay.
And it is still, there is active worship going on there.
Okay.
It is one of the 51 Shakti Peeths. So, which means Bharatvarsha did extend up to there.
Okay.
And anyone is free to go to some of these channels and listen to Baloch music. You will see the distinct resemblance to Indian music there. So, Baloch is a very interesting place. And I feel that since they never wanted to be part of Pakistan, the Kalat of Balochistan.
So I think this is not a 1 year or 2 year protest. This protest have been
80 years it's been going on. They never
very...
wanted to be part of this, and through the brutal Pakistani military rule, they have been putting, and today the enormous mineral wealth of Baluchistan is what attracts the USA, China and India. So I think already, once again I feel that these 3 empires have made an agreement on Baluchistan.
Okay.
Like who will take what? You know, and the Baluch people, as long as you give them their country, and somewhere Iran also has to come into the picture.
Okay.
And just like I said, India should have proper relations with Afghanistan. India must have proper relations with Iran. Iran is too big, and Iran is also civilizational. It is the old Persian civilization. It is not a nation state. So, any civilizational state will find it easier to interact with any other civilizational state. And with regards to Balochistan, Iran must be prepared to give some influence to the new Balochistan, because remember another thing about these buffer states that are coming up now. They don't have sharp boundaries. Nation states means they have sharp boundaries. So, you will now get into a world in this part of the world with fuzzy boundaries. When people will have, let us say, dual citizenships or this and that, travel will be very easy. It will not be strict. It will be like pre-World War I. Pre-World War I, there were no visas. Anybody could go to any country with a passport. So I think we'll go back to a different kind of understanding and relationship between various countries. Now, as regards the second part of your question, that talking to all the other countries, why they were doing so much of it. It is of course important to get the approval or at least neutrality of USA, Russia and China. But there are so many other countries also, like Germany, Japan, you know, middle powers. Even they, for the sake of courtesy, France, absolutely, which has been a loyal friend of India.
Exactly.
So I think it is important as a matter of courtesy to tell them that certain things are going to happen which are not entirely unexpected, but don't be too surprised.
Okay.
Because this terror thing, we have been putting up with it for long enough. Now, we have put up with terror ever since when? Since the Mumbai blast of 19...
We didn't start that.
We started nothing.
Exactly.
Including, we are now speaking from the IISc. There was a murder here, not even 200 meters from where we are sitting, when a professor was killed coming out from a conference in IISc, which is why since that date, security procedures in our institute have been, you know, they questioned you when you came in.
Yeah, exactly.
It's only because of that. So we are the victims of terrorism. What did that innocent professor do coming to this conference? I think it was 2005 or something.
Okay.
That he was killed in the evening. That spot is right here. So this terrorism has not been very far away from us. So I think it's important also for External Affairs Minister and the diplomats to just brief all these people that Something is going to happen because we have now reached the end of the limit. Last straw on the camel's back. And now after Pahalgam especially, they would have said, now, you can't trust these people anymore. And who has done it and what they have done it, we don't know, but it is undoubtedly from the army. Anyway, that's what we believe. So whether you believe it or not, we are just telling you. And since India is a bit stronger than all these countries, it's just a courtesy and I think information. But I think the other three, we had to get more out of them. China, Russia, America. Approval and if not approval, at least neutrality.
Sir, one last question actually. Since you mentioned in the middle about Abhi picture Baki hai, and so what kind of a picture can we expect? And since you mentioned about all the 4 states into a separate region, can we expect that in the 2025 or it will take a longer time?
My estimate today on the facts that I am able to see, because I only see public domain facts and just using my powers of reasoning, I am trying to join the dots. I give it about 3 years.
3 years. Okay. So there won't be any Pakistan after 3 years.
I don't think so. I gave a Swarajya podcast to Swarajya last year where I said I give it 1 year. But one can always be a bit wrong here and there. But the idea was that there won't be a Pakistan.
Okay.
That was a video chat going through Lodi Gardens with Sharan Shetty. So I said I give it about a year. He was a bit surprised. But we are always
Whether
allowed
400 or this 240 made the time span a little
a little bit exaggeration should be allowed.
Okay.
But basically, I have been with this idea that Pakistan was and always will be an unstable entity. And from a scientist perspective, we call the word metastable. And metastable things, even with a small stimulus, it can destroy completely. And I think that is what has happened now. So I give it about 3 years. So we are now 25. Yeah, by 28, 29. I think by the time of our election, probably that will be the election campaign.
Okay.
Saying that I have finished off Pakistan.
Okay. So for 2029.
For 2029, I think this is all well timed. And I believe that therefore by end of 28, I think we will not see a country called Pakistan.
Thank you so much, sir. I think we have discussed a lot about Operation Sindoor and the upcoming process as well. I think there are lots and lots of topics to be discussed with you in for the present context and the future context as well. Thank you so much, sir.
Namaste, everybody. And these have just been my opinions as a thinking person joining the dots. Normally, there is only one way of joining 2 dots, but who knows? The straight line may not be the shortest distance between 2 points. And that is the charm of studying international relations.
Exactly.
Because it's a very dynamic thing. But today you can really see the trend, which way it is going. And to my mind, the trend is very strong. That we will not see Pakistan in its present shape for too much longer.
Thank you, sir.